Hello, greetings from the Main West Auto Shop. Today we're going to go over how to set valve lash on one of our small engines. So one of the first things you need to do is make sure you have a service manual for your engine so you know the proper procedures for setting valve lash, the proper specifications for tightening. For this particular engine, the first thing I want to do is set the crankshaft up for top dead center on the compression stroke. We've done that. And now we're going to go up into our valves. We want to make sure that our pivots and jam nuts are loose. We're not going to try and turn the pivot, we're just going to hold the pivot in place and loosen the jam nut. That jam nut's job is to make sure that the pivot, once we tighten it, doesn't move anymore. Then we're going to take our correct size feeler gauge for this engine to be 4/1000s, and we're going to insert that in between the valve stem and the rocker arm. And we want to feel just a very light drag, almost like we're passing this feeler gauge over a magnet. And we're not talking a real big difference. So if you watch the wrench here, turning it this much actually sticks the feeler gauge in place. I can't gently pull it out. And this much here is too loose. So we're looking so it just barely feels like we're passing it over a magnet. And that's the proper distance there. Then, keeping the pivot nut in place, we're going to tighten the jam nut so that the pivot can't move anymore. So for our particular spec, we're talking 84 inch-pounds. So take our torque wrench, set it to spec, and now we're going to tighten, being very careful not to move that pivot. One is done. Now we're going to move over to the other. Going over to the other side now. Jam nut and pivot are loose. Feeler gauge set to 4/1000s. In between valve stem and rocker arm. Tightening down the pivot until we just feel the light drag like we're passing our feeler gauge over a magnet. Position our wrench. Our feel back there. And once we have it, setting down our jam nut, grabbing our torque wrench, set to our specification, for us 84 inch-pounds, holding the pivot still, and now we're set. Should still be able to move the rocker arms. They should not be fixed. If you go and grab it and there's already tension on here, it's already pushing down on the valve, you've over-tightened your pivot. Loosen everything up, go with the procedure again, and check. And that's the end of setting valve.